It's just loading.
Right.
Sorry. Sorry,
Okay.
it's done now.
Got those, or is it on screen?
Yeah, it's live now.
So you all got that? Live now?
Yeah.
Okay. Declarations of interest? Minutes of the previous meeting, so you've all received those, read them.
Move them, Chair.
Brilliant, thank you.
One observation, it was mentioned, making the food hygiene available via the Lichfield District Council. Thank you for doing so. I tried it.
I think, because I checked after the meeting, I think the link was already on there, just it wasn't hidden away somewhere. So
Right, well, thank you for revealing it then.
No other questions on that? Moved by councillor Salter, so that's it. Item 4, proposed diversion of public footpath. Robin, I believe that's yours.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, items 4, 5 and 6 are all on the same site, so I'll deal with item 4 and then keep 5 and 6 a bit shorter. I'll just be repeating. Yes, it's an application to divert part of footpath number 11 in Kerbert and Elmhurst. The proposal is shown on the plan at page 9 of your pack. The route to be proposed for extinguishment is shown by the solid black line, and the broken black line shows the proposed new route. This is all part of a larger development site. This is all part of a larger development site to facilitate the development. You've already got planning permission in place, so this is just a matter of whether or not you're happy to divert the path to enable that development to take place. Obviously, if you decide not to, then that would have an impact on the approved development and what they can and can't do and things. So effectively for agenda item 4 and footpath 11, we're recommending that the order be made.
Right. Do that. Any questions for Robin?
Not question. Are we taking 3 ones on that site together, are we?
If procedurally that's okay, then
I mean, well,
Fine, unless you have any questions. You haven't got a question?
no, I was going to propose that we accept all 3 of them.
Second that.
Can I just query one thing on the map? If you look at the wording at the bottom, outside the drawing of the map itself, it shows the solid line as path to be extinguished ABC, path to be created ABC. Should that not be ABD?
that should be ABD. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Obviously, we will get that plan amended before any orders made.
Right.
Just on the other 2, if we're doing them all
Yes.
together, is if you look at the plans on page 13 of pack and page 17, which shows the other proposals, it does look like some of the proposed new paths are running through ponds, but that's not the case because those ponds are all being infilled and etc. as part of the development. So we're not looking at putting footpaths underwater.
Okay. Councillor Evans, did you have a question?
No, I was seconding.
Are you second?
I will mention that I can't walk on water if they're going to be, if it runs.
So we're all in favour to approve that proposed diversion.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. You want to move on to?
Item 7.
Yes, please.
Item 7 is another footpath diversion, this time in Lichfield itself, part of PASS IR 1994. And this is to enable the installation of an opening swing bridge on the canal, the plan shown on page 21. And the reason they need to divert is the space that's required to get the swing bridge and everything in place. Means that the path can't go on its original line in a straight line. It's got to go at a slight angle to facilitate all that. And within the arrangements for this, the bridge will be effectively permanently in place, allowing access along the footpath. It'll only be opened when a canal boat needs to go through. So majority of the time it will be open. And when the bridge is open, there's facility for some small a gate at each end, obviously for safety purposes, so people just don't wander off the edge. And those gates will be locked open, apart from when the swing bridge is in operation, in which case they'll be unlocked as part of the movement of the bridge. And it'll all the locks will all be the standardised locks that are provided for users of the canal, in the same way as the keys for the locks. Locks as in canal locks, not keys and locks. So yeah, so again, we're recommending approval on that. It's a very worthwhile scheme as it's restoring the canal.
Yeah. Any questions?
I'll move it.
Seconded. Thank you. So we're all happy. Okay. Thank you very much, Robin. Thank you. Item 8, update on taxi enforcement.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening, councillors. So the committee will remember when we brought in our new taxi policy, we committed to increase enforcement, but also produce to the committee a summary of enforcement activity since the last meeting. So since the 19th of June, I've got some data on number of roadside checks that have been undertaken. So these are done sometimes during operations in the evening or night, sometimes during the day a single taxi might be checked by an officer. So since the last committee meeting, 13 drivers and vehicles have been subject to roadside checks. 9 of those passed without issue. 3 verbal warnings were issued. The first was for driver conduct and how the driver engaged with the officer. The second was for not displaying signs on the side of the vehicle. And the third was for the driver not having his dash identification badge, which has his photo and name and license number on, and for not having any no smoking signs. So those two verbal warnings that were given there, the drivers were given a deadline by which to present the vehicle with the rectifications made. One was done the same night, and the second one came in the next working day and showed the officers that the signs were on the vehicle where they should be. So that's the activity since 19th of June. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Councillor Salter?
Yeah, thank you. Not specifically on that, but I did wonder, do our neighbouring areas operate a similar system of having identification, or should our neighbours have identification, photographs, etc. on the dashboard? The reason I ask, I had cause to book a taxi last week and it came from Walsall. It was a Walsall badged one, and saying it was the driver, of course, but there was no ID badge, photo evidence or anything like that. So.
Okay. So if I talk about Lichfield's policy first, because there's a slight change to that. So under our old policy, the driver would have displayed a identification badge on the dashboard. This driver was still licensed under the old policy, hence he had to display that. Under our new policy, that badge has gone and it's been replaced by, if you remember when the committee had a look at the new signs, it's been replaced by a windscreen badge. So in the top left-hand corner, on the inside, there'll be a photograph of the driver and the driver's license details. All of this is in addition to the driver having to wear a badge around his neck anyway. That's the key thing, because when somebody's interacting from the roadside with the driver, that's generally what they'll see the driver wearing. And if the driver's getting out to help passengers or load luggage, again, that's what the passengers will see. In terms of other councils, it's entirely down to them what their policy says. So as we know, every council does this differently. that creates some problems, and that is, as you may be aware, currently being reviewed by the government. But it all depends what council it is and what their policy is. But absolutely every driver by whichever council they're licensed with will wear a identification badge with their photograph as a minimum. I'm not aware of any councils that wouldn't require that, because it's just common sense. Otherwise you could be getting into any vehicle with any person driving it. How much passengers check them is obviously another matter, and we have trouble at the roadside when we're checking the driver's identification in the dark. It's not easy to say yes, that's definitely the person behind the wheel, and I'm certain that the public don't check things to that extent. Thank you.
Councillor Mayor, yes, carry on.
Just one quick question. The new signage for licensing, is that going to come into play as licenses need renewing?
Yes, that's right. So since the new policy came in, over the 12 months when licenses are renewed, they'll be changed for the new signs, and you may well have seen an increase in the new signs as time goes on. We think they look much better and are smarter, and the drivers seem to be happy with the appearance of them. And it's a positive in terms of we've reduced the number of signs, and the old door signs that they had to display, they no longer are required to do that. I can't remember what the date is for when they will all have changed over by.
I think it's the 30th of April next year. There are a few that have voluntarily paid for new ones. I'll look off them. So,
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yeah. There is. Item 9, Licensing Act. Is that you, James?
That is me, Chair,
yes.
Although I will be assisted by the principal licensing officer if needed. The committee will know over the past year, 2 years, we've gone through a big process of updating, I think, all our licensing policies now, and this is the last big one for a while, we hope. So the committee will have seen a big draft policy along with the report. I'm just going to pick some points out from the report and obviously answer any questions the committee has. But essentially, this is something that we're required to have, and we're required to renew and refresh it every 5 years. So Lichfield requires a new one to come into force in January. It's a great opportunity because clearly over 5 years, a lot has changed in terms of how premises are licensed. So we've been able to incorporate some of those changes. I'll talk about some of those changes shortly, but one key thing that the committee will have seen is around what's called a cumulative impact assessment. So in the city centre, we already have a cumulative impact assessment under the current policy, and it covers Bird Street and Market Street. Now, as part of the process of putting the new policy together, we've obviously spoke to the police, and the opinion from the police is that they absolutely want that area to remain, but they also want it extended to cover the whole of the city centre. As an appendix, the committee will have seen a document that we have produced, but it's all based on evidence, or largely based on evidence from Staffordshire Police. The police were hoping to come tonight in case you had any questions that they would be able to answer, but unfortunately they've not been able to. So the request from the police is to continue with that and expand it, and there's some detail both in the annex and on the report about what that means. But essentially it's a tool for the council to help manage the number of licensed premises we have in the city centre to ensure that the 4 licensing objectives are being met. So other changes that we've incorporated, the committee will have seen sections in the policy around developments over the last 5 years. So initiatives such as Ask for Angela. There's some content in there around child sexual exploitation, drink spiking, drugs, public health, counter-terrorism, and modern slavery and human trafficking. We've obviously looked at policy that other councils nearby have brought in to benchmark alongside that, and equally with the cumulative impact assessment. It's very, very common, certainly for cities, to have cumulative impact assessment areas, but also towns, and that includes the majority of those in Staffordshire. I think I've probably covered a reasonable introduction there, Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions. If you want me to go through the recommendations, the first is that the committee supports the proposal to retain and extend the cumulative impact assessment area to cover the city centre as marked on the map to support the promotion of the licensing objectives. The second is that the committee agree for the statement of licensing policy and the cumulative impact assessment to go out for consultation for a period of 4 weeks. So if the committee is happy tonight, that will be the next step for us. That consultation will involve the licensed premises that we have across the district and particularly in the city centre. And then the third one is that following the consultation, any amendments, the committee recommends to full council that they adopt the statement of licensing policy and the cumulative impact assessment at the council meeting in December.
Question.
Sorry, I seem to be hogging the night. First of all, thank you to the officers for a tremendous amount of work there. It is fascinating. What a better word. A minor thing on this, on our document pack, page 60, it's actually page 2 of the cumulative impact assessment. Very soft line. It just confused me a little bit. I had to reread it 2 or 3 times. The wording is the vast majority of venues close between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. And I thought, they're really open again at 2 o'clock. And I just wondered if it could be better worded. It made, to me, first couple of times I read they closed at 11 o'clock and reopened because they're closed between 11 and 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all going.
Closing times of venues.
The closing times vary, so perhaps stay open until between 11 and 2, or just a bit of, just to clarify that point, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Evans.
Yeah, obviously I'd support the recommendations because I think it's very important that on police wanting to expand the area. I think that's vitally important that does happen. I wanted to ask on the Ask for Angela, because my understanding is that a lot of people are not aware, and because Kathy and I are doing the violence against women and girls, it is really important that people know that they can do that. And it does mention about the training, staff training of these people, but I don't know whether it's ever checked, because I was under the impression that somebody who had asked, and the person that was serving had absolutely no idea. And it is vitally important that if people really do need some help and support, especially if late at night, that they do get that opportunity to, and people understand what Ask for Angela means. So I hope that can be emphasised into the policy. I was also looking at, do you want me to go on into other things as well?
Please.
I was also absolutely alarmed at the hospital admissions higher than the English average, and significantly higher for females. That really is quite alarming in a place such as Lichfield, which you would never imagine would be the case. So that is the thing that concerns me. And also about drink spiking. How much drink spiking is there in the district? And I was also looking at these late night levies and why they aren't in operation in Lichfield. If I can have some explanation on that. A lot of it was in the policy, but it was a long policy to get your head round. So I may have missed some of the answers that I've asked you.
Yeah, do you want to come back on each of them?
Yes, please.
Okay. As for Angela, I mean, I agree with you. I think more could be done locally around that. I think that may be a Staffordshire-wide thing. I know in West Midlands, for example, there's, you know, if I go to a place in the West Midlands, I will see posters in the toilets, in the men's toilets, I should clarify. and there just seems to be more promotion of it there. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is brought up at things like Pub Watch.
Yes. And the police do safer nights campaigns, and they hand him round to community safety.
It is important that all people who work in these licensed premises know exactly what that means.
I think by bringing it into our policy will help with that. It's not in the current policy. So when premises are making applications or renewing their license or making changes to it, it's not something that we have forced them to consider. But by bringing it into the new policy, then it does. In terms of the late night levy, so I think because the levy would go to the police, we'd expect the police to drive that, and they haven't asked for that. They've obviously asked for the cumulative impact assessment area. The late night levies that I know of are generally in big cities. I don't know whether there's any actually in Staffordshire.
Don't think so.
So I would say that's a police decision not to pursue, a Staffordshire police decision not to pursue them across the county.
Yeah, so if it had been necessary, they would have asked. Yeah, okay.
And I do think they are quite unusual. Clearly, businesses are not necessarily going to be supportive of it. So there's that balance to strike between the amount of policing and how it's funded versus obviously the need to make sure that businesses can operate without undue financial burden.
There are very few nationally, actually. Nottingham.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the drink spiking?
Drink spiking, I don't have any data on that. I know that it's an issue for the police because there's often a disparity in the amount of drink spiking that is reported versus how much is proven to be caused by drink spiking. As you'll know, the symptoms of and the signs of drink spiking can be caused by a range of things, obviously alcohol intake, drugs, and also drink spiking. So I think it's very difficult for accurate data, but absolutely the police will have an idea of the scale of the problem across the county and locally, I would expect, but we just don't have that data. I can ask them to provide it if the committee would find that helpful.
I think locally from Pub Watch meetings, the police will say that most reports of drink spiking, when they've reviewed the CCTV, is purely the alcohol that's been drunk. It's not. No one's been spiked. So as a general rule, they've just had too much to drink.
Well, I was just thinking that might be linked to these hospital admissions, because that is horrific to think that we've got such a large number of hospital admissions.
Councillor Chairman.
Yeah, just a couple of things, just in relation to licensing and whether or not they're being trained about. As for Angela, when you do licensing checks, do you look at their training records to see what's within their training programme?
Yes, and that's not something.
Sorry?
That's not something that is normally there, which is why it's now in the.
Right, so because it's now in the policy, it's now something that you can say, why aren't you training this? I think, and my second point was, in recommendation 2.3, following a period of consultation, any resulting amendments, you're asking us to approve a document now and then there might be some resulting amendments. Who's going to approve those resulting amendments? I'm not expecting you to have too many, but does it go back to the chair, for instance?
You are right, Councillor Checkman. I think 2.3 needs to be amended to clarify that any amendments would go to the chair and vice chair.
Yeah, just from the point of view that we're approving something that could then be changed before we go.
Absolutely. That's the process we normally use. So if the committee's happy with that, we can amend 2.3 to say that.
With just coming on with the query about hospital admissions for women being higher, for the next meeting, would it be possible to see more of a detailed breakdown of what those admissions were?
Yeah, I'm sure we can have an attempt at that. Yeah. You know,
I'm intrigued how they get the figures, because if something happens here, you could end up with any one of 5 hospitals. So
which hospitals they're being admitted to, where, you know, if they're not Litchfield, where are they going out to?
If we get the data for that, would the committee chair prefer us to email that round?
Please do that. Thank you for that. Councillor Kirby.
On Ask for Angela, the issue is often that staff, it's a high turnover of staff members, and so many of them will miss that training. So I'd like to say that was a good idea, the training records are checked, because I think it's really important. Somebody may be relying on that, and when they go to the bar and say, can I speak to Angela, there's nobody there who knows what they're talking about.
Yes, Councillor Hill.
I think the whole thing about Ask Angela is excellent. I think it's necessary. I had my granddaughter had need to do that not all that long ago in London. The question that I have is that when we advertise for people to use it, aren't we also letting the people know who the abusers are, that if they pick up on that somebody's asking for Angela, how do you deal with that? How do you combat that? You know, if the boyfriend's there, she's asking for Angela, and she says, oh, I know what she's trying to do. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but it's better than nothing.
Oh no, I absolutely want.
It's an opportunity to say something at a bar
Yes.
to somebody or anyone within the bar. Not necessarily when boyfriend's there, when he's gone to the loo or something like that. So it does give a bit of an out. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you saw the Ask for Angela in the gents' toilets.
Yeah.
For that reason, yeah.
Maybe stickers along the inside of the bar below where the pumps are, reminding staff, everyone who's sat there, just little stickers, just saying Ask for Angela, so that the bar staff, I mean, it's Ask for Angela, so they're querying
What's on
the
there?
operators.
Councillor Shorten.
Yeah, it was on that point about it being in the gents' toilets. That could, I don't wish to stereotype, but it could be a bit of a deterrent. If the potential perpetrator sees that, may well think, well, no point here, as it were, move on. But that's the wrong way to look at things. But if it's well advertised everywhere, then hopefully it will have a deterrent effect.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? No. The recommendations are for 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Are we all happy?
With the amendment on 2.3, yes, I am.
Yep.
You for that? Air quality.
Thank you, Chair, that's me. Air quality management area number 1 it was declared way back in 2008 under the Environment Act 95. It's related to levels of nitrogen dioxide being above the limit of 40 micrograms per cubic metre around Muckley Corner. The levels of NO2 around there have been consistently 10% or more below the objective for the last 5 years. Members might remember that we had a similar report earlier this year in relation to the air quality management area number 2, which was the A38 corridor from Wall Island up to, I believe, Street Hay, and that has since been revoked. Data from our annual status report submitted to DEFRA show that nitrogen dioxide at Muckley Corner 2 has been declining, especially post-pandemic. DEFRA has confirmed that the data meets the criteria for revocation, and assuming this goes ahead, no air quality management areas will remain in the Lichfield district. It's important to say, though, that air quality monitoring still continues. Annual status reports continue to be submitted to DEFRA and published. Ongoing actions to reduce pollution and support public health continue. I'm aware some people may comment that air pollution is still an issue. We need to tackle, and I think we'd agree with that. The point here is that levels of nitrogen dioxide around Muckley Corner are now below the government air quality target, and that's all we're looking at in this report. So the recommendation is that the Regulatory and Licensing Committee recommends to the Cabinet member that air quality management area number 1 be revoked.
Question? Councillor Knight?
What's the process of assessment for deciding what areas need to be watched, and how often does that assessment take place?
Well, for nitrogen dioxide, we deploy what are called diffusion tubes that are on lampposts and signs and that sort of thing across the district, normally targeting places where air quality is likely to be bad, but also areas where people live or where there's receptors like hospitals and schools and that sort of thing. The idea being to check whether they're exceeding the limits. That's the whole reason why Muckley Corner was originally declared and the A38 was declared. I think, you know, over time, partly due to people's changed habits in terms of their working habits, you know, we're working from home more, electric vehicles, things like AdBlue that some people in here might have in their cars that reduce nitrogen dioxide emissions. All of that together has dropped the levels. So, but yeah, we monitor across the district with these diffusion tubes to determine the areas that we need to target.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jack? Yeah. No, I'll be happy to go ahead with that recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes, fine, thank you. Right, I think it's you again, Jack. New public space protection order.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is to seek approval for a consultation on a proposed second dog control public space protection order, or PSPO. It's in response to requests from Hill Ridware Village Hall trustees and also Drayton Bassett Parish Council for additional dog control measures in their area. The proposed PSPO measures are in the appendix on the report, but essentially it's Hill Ridware Village Hall play area and open space, which is at the back of the village hall. It's to have a ban on dogs from that location. And the second one at Drayton Bassett is for dogs to be kept on a lead no longer than 2 meters in the big park that there is in Drayton Bassett. PSPOs are a power that brought in by the Antisocial Behaviour Crime Policing Act in 2014, and our existing public space protection order was brought in August last year, or renewed in August last year, and added a few additional locations from the previous one. These proposals may address some outstanding local concerns. I think it's fair to say there could be a difference of opinion with locals, in particular at the Hill Ridware Village Hall location. And with that in mind, I think it'd be appropriate for me to highlight to the committee that whilst the report recommendation is a consultation on a ban on dogs at Hill Ridware, you might see fit to amend this to a ban on dogs, for example, on the children's play area, and a dogs on leads proposal on the green space around it. We could alternatively add this into the consultation to see if residents in the area would prefer that route. That would lead us to come back to this committee to get final approval. Enforcement of PSPO is primarily by service of fixed penalties, and officers that work for the council as well as the police would be authorised to do it. There's no additional budget required. It's within existing resources. So the recommendation then is to approve a 3-week statutory consultation with the police, who are enforcement partners, local residents and other stakeholders, to delegate authority to the Regulation Enforcement Manager, Chair and Vice Chair of this committee, to review the consultation feedback, and then if no significant objections occur, to recommend the PSPO to the Cabinet member for adoption. If significant objections do occur, then we'll be back here in November to discuss those and a way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about Hill Ridware, because I think it's a bit far to be banning them from dogs from the whole field itself. I understand. I've had a dog, you know, most people are responsible and do pick up after themselves or look after them, but obviously you've got ones that aren't as responsible. But I can understand banning them from the park. You know, you've got kids who are scared of dogs and things, but from the whole field seemed a bit much for me. So I think if that's something that you can maybe put in there to have a look at that, different versions of it instead of a complete ban, I think that would be a really good idea if people agree with it.
Just to clarify, that's just to put that in the consultation. To see
Yeah.
people's opinions.
Well, put it in the consultation. I mean, depends how everyone feels, but I just think that's a bit excessive in that area personally, but other people might feel different. But I'm more than happy if people agree for it to be in the consultation. Then obviously it gives residents a chance to make their opinion on it.
Councillor Salt.
I'd agree with that. It is a bit overkill to completely ban. I was surprised, I think, to see that PCSOs can enforce with a fixed penalty. I didn't think they had those powers.
Police constables?
No, you've got police community support officer. I didn't think they'd got the power to issue. Have they?
In law, they have. I think the difference locally and with every police force, it's then down to the chief constable what they authorise their officers to do. So the law allows PCs and PCSOs to issue.
PCs can. I didn't think PCSOs could in this area.
I think it's safe to say it's rare anyway for the police to get involved in that sort of thing. We would be looking to address it with our officers primarily.
The easier option for them is just to take the person's details and then pass them on.
Over. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Chetland.
Just in relation to the conversation has been mentioned, and it does seem a bit over the top to say the dog can't go onto a bit of grass if it's under control and on a lead. So that you don't have to come back to us, do you want me to recommend that we amend the first one to be the same as the second one? So that when the consultation period happens, if all of a sudden you find a surprise that you're going to go the other way, and you've got to go back to what's written there, can I propose that? Did that make sense?
Think so.
Basically, the lax approach to both of them. But if the consultation it comes out forcefully the other direction, then you've got to come back to us. But otherwise,
Okay.
Councillor Evans.
I totally agree with what's been said. The one thing that does concern me is how these actually get enforced. Because obviously you're not going to have somebody there watching 24 hours of the day. A lot of people, once they start getting away with it, they think they can get away with it. So is it really enforced quite vigorously or not?
The reality is we have limited resources. What tends to happen in these situations is if we're getting feedback that people are breaching the order, then we will focus on that area to do some enforcement work. On the assumption that we catch the people that are breaching it, the hope would be that a fixed penalty will stop them breaching it. But again, we could come back months down the line if they start breaching it again. We find this sometimes in localities where people allow their dog to foul. Generally speaking, you catch somebody not picking up dog mess once and they tend to toe the line then. But certainly, I mean, we've had discussions about parks where, you know, you might see a lull and then it picks up again. But yeah, essentially we would target it if we were getting reports that people are breaching the order, but we wouldn't be doing, you know, programmed patrols all the time regardless, because we just don't have the resources.
Thank you.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, the people who are most likely to comply are the ones that are already responsible dog owners. The ones that aren't will kind of just excuse the pun, but poo-poo it, or just simply say, not going to do it, and take their chance. And it's very difficult these days because some of the people that do abuse it, they tend to be people who, the kind of dog that they have and the way that they've bred the dog tend to be a little bit aggressive. And so anybody, member of the public, approaching them or saying anything would feel quite intimidated by that. So, you know, could it be just reported, and how frequently would they have to do it? I mean, I actually had somebody, 3 dogs came to my dog just last night, and I was taking them for a walk around the recreation ground at Mile Oak. Very intimidated. The dog owner couldn't care less. Your problem. So I've got that same concern about enforcement. And the fact the kind of people are going to do it, I certainly wouldn't have confronted this individual any more than just take hold of my dog and try to get it out of the way, to be honest.
Well, confronting those individuals is what we do. So we would, if we were getting reports, like I say, of this being an issue, and it may be one individual that just is
not caring about the order and continuing to take their dog into a children's playground area that's fenced off. Not necessarily in these areas, but in the orders that are already in place. And we would target that in terms of trying to locate them and giving them a fixed penalty.
I agree. It's such a shame that a lot of law-abiding people and considerate people end up being punished, basically, and their dogs because of one or two people. And I think that's such a terrible shame.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's the balance of the consultation. You know, if the general population in the area are want to be able to exercise their dogs without having to have them on lead or without banning them from these areas, then they're open to respond to the consultation in that respect.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a thought, would it be made clear within the wording of the consultation so as not to raise expectations in respect of enforcement? It could be that people say, oh, there'll never be any more dogs there, and just expect there to never be any more dogs there. And I think it needs to be made clear that enforcement is something that can't be carried out 24/7, and any problems need to be reported through the proper channels.
Obviously, introducing any order that bans dogs or you know, requires them to be on a lead, at the very first stage is making a statement about what we expect dog owners to be doing, and then when they're breaching that, that's when we need to carry on with the enforcement. I mean, really, we can target places if there are problems.
Yeah.
We need the intelligence to say that there's a problem first, because we won't proactively target, because that really is a waste of time.
Yeah, but I think that needs making clear in the consultation that there won't be 24-hour surveillance. It's
the slight difficulty.
Raise expectations.
Yeah, the slight difficulty with highlighting that is you might then encourage people to say, "Oh, well, forget it. I'll there anyway." So it's difficult. It's hard.
Yeah.
Councillor Mears, then Councillor Ashton. Yeah.
Just wondered, is there anywhere that lists where the current orders, the protection orders, is there a map on the website that, and you can see what areas have got an order, and can they make a report from that part of the website as well?
Yes, certainly. I don't think there's necessarily a specific public space protection order reporting mechanism, but there will be our email address on the website. But yeah, the order is there. You can, if you typed in public space protection order or even PSPO on our website, it'll link you to our current PSPO, and when this consultation takes place, it'll link you to that as well. And in the order, it actually has maps with outlines of exactly where it relates to.
Thank you.
If no one else has seconded Councillor Checkland's suggestion that we alter the Redware wording on the consultation to match the Drayton Bassett Park consultation, I'd like to second that with a proviso that if there's any significant variation from that as a result of the consultation, it comes before us.
There is just one thing to mention on the Hill Ridware one, and that is if you look at the plan on the appendix, on the outlined red area, there's a sort of a children's play area with swings and that sort of thing that's fenced off. So you might be minded to say we'll go ahead with a consultation on continuing a ban on dogs from there, which is pretty similar to a lot of play areas in the district, but the dogs on leads or whatever in relation to the green area behind it.
Yeah,
that's another possible.
I think so. Yeah, I think having a ban of dogs in a play area is a sensible thing.
I'm assuming that you've got an idea of what the consultation will throw up, so might as well make the wording correspond to what you.
I don't, to be honest. I mean, no, I've not spoken to all the residents, so yeah.
Any other question?
Just Jack just picked up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. With the Drayton Bassett one, there's a play area there, isn't there?
Yes.
It's not fenced.
Exactly. The difference there is a play area that's not fenced off. The parish council are avoiding evidence of dogs approaching children on that play area, hence their dog on lead proposal.
If I could just mention, perhaps I should declare an interest, because Drayton Bassett is one of my wards, comes under Bourne Vale, so I know about that. and I know about the problems that's been there, and I know the layout, and it is a lot of young children there. There's tennis courts, football, people jog around there, they walk around there. So it's the parish council there are all for it.
And that was going to be my second point, if I may. Obviously, many parks in the district are managed by the district council. This one is managed by the parish council, and if it's the parish council that is telling us it's a problem, you know, maybe they're having to spend lots of money on clearing up dog fouling, or they get lots of complaints about it. The committee might obviously want to.
I would just point out that for Hill Ridware, it's not the parish council saying that, it's the village hall trustees.
Councillor Kerr.
I just wondered how many reports you get of dogs being loose without any owner there, because my son was attacked last year in a park with the 2 dogs, no sign of any owners, and he fell and fractured his wrist in 3 places, so it led to a long period off work and lots of problems. I wondered if you get many reports of that.
Occasional reports, I would say. I mean, some local authorities go to in further lengths than us, and they, you know, I believe Cannock Chase has a public space protection order requiring dogs to be on a lead when in a public place. Obviously, you'll have quite a few dog owners in those situations thinking, well, I can't even throw a ball for my dog. So it's that balancing act, and it's you know, where you strike that balance. Inevitably, yes, you will have dog owners that have their dogs not under control and are less responsible, and they can cause problems, or attack other dogs is possibly a more common occurrence. Again, it's just balancing the rights of those responsible ones against the odd ones that are irresponsible.
I had a report last week. It was Canwell. They've got a recreation centre field, and 4 dog owners all got there. And as soon as they got to the gate, they took them up the leash, let them go, and the 4 dogs rushed in and all went for one another. And the dog owners were all trying to get in and separate them. Fortunately, there is no one there, but there is a children's nursery that comes onto the back of there, and the children go on there when the weather's nice to play. So that report came to me last week, and there are the signs up there, Jack, as you know, that the dogs must be on a leash, and completely ignored it. I mean, it's going on. And right.
Sorry, just if you don't have an order, no one can report it in. If you've got an order in place, at least you can do something about the problem. If you're a member of the public, you can report it in, and if we get the reports in, then something can be done about it.
Yeah.
So I think we ended up with an amendment to the amendments.
Yes.
Proposed by Jack. If Jack's not allowed to propose, I'll propose what Jack said.
Thank you. So, all in favour? No. Thank you very much. Item 12 is work progress.
Because I've just read them up.
We're showing update on taxi enforcement and the health funeral policy.
That's right, Chair. Yes, so usual update, and then the only other item we currently have is a policy around how we deliver public health funerals. So that's when somebody dies in the district, nobody takes responsibility for organising the funeral, and we take it on. So we have a policy at the moment, but it's not gone to committee for approval. And I think you may have seen we had 2 public health funerals last month, or earlier this month even, and we just want to make sure that the way that we're doing them is the best possible way. So that's all we have. Clearly there may be some footpath diversions.
And there may be a public space protection order returning.
Yes.
There should be any footpath diversions, because we haven't had any new applications, so Might be in
Okay.
November.
I'm sure that we will have more on the agenda. You'll find something.
The committee can always ask us.
Yes,
Yeah, as you know.
yes.
I
So,
asked last time and we got a few more things on.
yes.
So, yeah, it does work.
Any more questions? Yeah. All right, thanks to James, Jack, Tracy, and Rohanna for their input and coming to the meeting. And thank you, everyone. And I will now close the meeting.